Hello, Becky here. Welcome back to my channel. Today is September 2nd and I have 30 days left until my due date with baby number 5. That is absolutely terrifying. And this month I have decided that I want to read some books that pertain to pregnancy and motherhood. So I just started. I had to go for what's called a non-stress test. If you don't know, they put a couple of belts around your belly and they listen to the baby's heartbeat, and you have a button that you push every time the baby moves, and you sit there for about 45 minutes to an hour, and they're just monitoring the baby's heartbeat and everything and making sure everything is normal and good and baby's doing well. It's a pretty common procedure at the end of a pregnancy, but I am 35 weeks, 5 days today, September 2nd, and I'll be 36 weeks on the Thursday. Today is Tuesday. And because I am over the age of 35, I am considered a geriatric pregnancy. So they just do a little bit of extra monitoring. But so far, I've had 4 healthy pregnancies. This pregnancy's been healthy. There's no complications or any cause for concern, really. It's just a precaution. So while I was at the non-stress test, I picked up Midwives by Chris Bojalen. I hauled this in my summer vacation book haul video. So I just got this really recently from Value Village for $6. It is from 1997, so we'll see if it's good or not. I'm only 17 pages in and it's fine so far. So the synopsis on the back says that on an icy winter night in an isolated house in rural Vermont, a seasoned midwife named Sybil Danforth takes desperate measures to save a baby's life. She performs an emergency C-section on a mother she believes has died of a stroke. But what if Sybil's patient wasn't dead and Sybil inadvertently killed her? As Sybil faces the antagonism of the law, the hostility of traditional doctors, and the accusations of her own conscience, Midwives engages, moves, and transfixes us as only the very best novels ever do. So I thought this book was going to start on like a cold, crazy winter night. It was going to be very atmospheric. You were going to feel the cold through the pages. And it was going to be a very isolated setting, and there was going to be no chance of getting to a doctor or a hospital or anything. I wasn't sure what year this took place. I know it was written in 1997, but I don't know. It could have been in like the 1700s or something. And I thought it was at a time where midwives were more common than doctors, and if there was hospitals and doctors and the chance for like a sterile operating room kind of thing, that it would be far away. Like the chances of getting there were very slim, and that's why she performs this emergency C-section. But it seems to take place in more modern times, like maybe the 70s or 80s roughly. So it would be more common to have babies at the hospital, but I mean, we still have midwives to this day. I was supposed to see a midwife for this pregnancy, but it just didn't end up working out. So I saw them at the beginning, but now I'm just back with a regular OBGYN, which is fine. That's what I had with my other babies. And I was not planning a home birth anyways, but I just liked the idea of having the care of a midwife. But anyways, it's a little different now when you have a midwife and you have a home birth, and chances are if there is any kind of an emergency, you can get to a hospital quickly. There's no like performing a C-section on your kitchen floor or on your bed or something like that. So I'm curious to see how that happens. It is not opening up with that scene whatsoever. We're actually getting the perspective of the midwife's daughter. In the prologue, she is 14. And then in chapter 1, we find out like now, as she's looking back on the time telling the story, she's in her 30s or like just turned 30. And she's going back to the first time she went with her mom to birth, that she was 8 years old. Anyways, I'm only 17 pages in, so I will update more and let you know how I'm feeling when I get a little bit further in. And then I have another fun little like rom-com to read as well, and I might pick up a nonfiction. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how this month goes. I am curious to keep reading this and see how the story unfolds. If we get the perspective from the midwife or just from the daughter. I am curious to find out. I also find it interesting that it is written by a man. Not surprising, but interesting. And he's using language about, it's the same person, but like she's like 8 years old and 14. And like, how does something that big come out of something so small? And especially when she's like 14 and she's starting to develop and has had her menstrual cycle and stuff, and so she understands a little bit more about biology and her body, and it's like, how can something that big come out of something so small? And she talks about her mom like preventing other women needing what's called an episiotomy. Sorry, I got you balanced on my steering wheel. preventing episiotomy, which is where the midwife or doctor or whatever will choose to make an incision instead of allowing the women to tear. From my understanding nowadays, they will allow you to tear because it's more natural, but if it's going to go in a bad direction or be a very bad tear, then they will decide to make the cut and all this stuff. And she was talking about this baby being born and being like 9 pounds, and her mom was able to like massage the area and everything, and the midwife was able to massage the area and everything and allow the mother to stretch to accommodate a 9-pound baby. Yeah, there's a lot already in the first like less than 20 pages of this book. But he's talking about like the size difference, and he mentions pushing a pickle through a straw as one of like the metaphors of having a baby. So it's interesting. I'm curious to know what his experience is with birth. Like, does he have a bunch of kids himself? Is he a doctor? I don't see anything about him in here. Oh yeah. He was the author of 4 previous novels, including Water Witches and Past the Bleachers, which became an acclaimed Hallmark movie. He writes for various magazines and newspapers, including Reader's Digest, the Boston Globe Sunday Magazine, and the Burlington Free Press, for which he has been a columnist since 1992. He lives in Lincoln, Vermont, and his wife, photographer Victoria Bluer, and their daughter Grace. So his wife is not a midwife or doctor either, according to this, and he's got 1 child. So I wonder like how much research he did for this or not, but we'll see. I'm not like cringing at it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think necessarily the metaphors are bad. Like the pickle through a straw is kind of funny, but also like she's 8 years old, so it kind of makes sense in that context. Anyways, I'm gonna jump back in and I will update you later. So I needed to go for another ultrasound. I've needed to go for weeks now and finally got in today. They called me at like 12:16 p.m. and they're like, we had a cancellation at 1 o'clock. Can you come? So I looked over at my toddler and I was like, yeah, if my mother-in-law can't take him, then I'll just have him sit in the room with me, I guess. So thankfully she was able to take him and I was able to get my ultrasound done finally. Back in May I had a low-lying placenta and now it looks like it has moved up where it should be, but I obviously need to wait to hear back from the doctor. That was just the text saying that, but she's like, wait to hear from the doctor. So yeah, obviously, but it sounds like good news, and the baby is measuring 5 pounds, 12-ish ounces, give or take 13 ounces. So I am 36 weeks today. So I imagine if I go the full 4 weeks or more, but especially the 4 weeks, that'll probably be around 7 pounds, I'm guessing. Because in this last month, that's all the baby does is gain weight. Anyways, so that's going well. And then I have a whole bunch of appointments next week. So wish me luck with that. But I am reading Midwives. I am on page 70 and I'm kind of bored. It is not at all what I was expecting it to be. It is all told from the perspective so far of a kid who's like between the ages of 8, 9 and up to like 14, 15 years old. And it's talking about like her friend, and her friend owns a horse and they go riding together on this same horse, and how she helps her friend like shovel the field and feed the horse and stuff because she's riding the horse. And she's talking about this boy that she likes who's kind of a bad boy, and he's always out like smoking cigarettes and stuff, and her parents are not like super strict or anything, but they are cautious and they're like, he doesn't have the best reputation and stuff, so just be careful with him kind of thing. And it's just like talking about her story growing up with a mom who happens to be a midwife, and then sometimes she gets called out with her mom. Like sometimes there's no one there to watch her, so she goes to the births with her mom and what she sees and experiences and stuff at those times. And then when they're talking about births and stuff, she hasn't been there. She's just like, oh, my mom said this or my mom did that or whatever. I thought it was going to be more like heavy hitting right from the start. They're going to start with this isolated house in rural Vermont when the midwife, Sybil, takes desperate measures to save a baby's life. And I thought it was going to be like this crazy winter storm, and it's like this really high intense situation with the baby and having to do like this emergency C-section and everything. So it's not that whatsoever, and they're just getting to that point now. I'm almost on part 2, which starts on chapter 88. So I got 18 more pages and then it's part 2. But she talks about how she didn't want to just start the story off with that birth because she doesn't want to like just put her mom's entire life and career into this one negative experience kind of thing, when there was like so much good and positive that she did do. And it turns out her mom is not even a licensed midwife. She was kind of against traditional schooling, and she went for a little bit, but it didn't work out. And she just kind of ended up being a midwife. She says it's a calling, but it kind of just happened by accident. She happened to be, her and her dad were like super hippies and stuff. And then somebody in their little commune that they were living in was pregnant, and they couldn't get to a hospital on time, and she ended up delivering the baby like knowing absolutely nothing at all. And then somebody else a couple months later in the group had a baby. So today is Wednesday, September 10th. I will be 37 weeks exactly tomorrow, and I just finished Midwives. So I know when I was talking about this earlier, the storage on my phone gave out and cut off right in the middle of a sentence. I know I was talking about how it wasn't really what I was expecting it to be, and it felt more like a YA teen book, but it is told from the perspective of the daughter, mostly when she's the age of 14, but it's being told, she's telling it as an adult, looking back at that time of her mom's trial and everything. And once you get to, like, the very beginning of it is a little bit more YA, growing up, meeting this boy, having a crush on this boy, like, going out of your way to try and be where he is so you can hang out and everything. Just hanging out with her friends, stuff like that. But once the trial begins, it's more focused on the trial. And I was thinking about this because I do read books where the main character is a lawyer. So you are getting the perspective of a lawyer and them trying to get evidence and get witnesses and prepare the witnesses and prepare the defendant and all that stuff. And I've seen shows like The Good Wife and the spin-off from that. What was that called? I can't remember. Where it's all from the perspective of the lawyers, right? Where this story is told from the perspective of the daughter. So she's telling you, like, this is what I heard the lawyer say. This is what the lawyer said to me and my mom. This is what I overheard them talking about in the kitchen when I was supposed to be upstairs doing my homework, but I was actually eavesdropping. So it's kind of interesting that way. You're not getting the thrill of, like, at one point she's talking to the private investigator. You're not getting the thrill of the private investigator going and, like, hunting down witnesses and, like, shaking information out of them or anything. You're just getting, like, a secondhand look at it based off of what just the daughter knows. So it's a little bit more quiet that way, I guess, not as thrilling as if you're reading from the actual lawyer. But that's not the story that this was meant to be, obviously. And it's interesting because there are, at the beginning of each chapter, the midwife that is on trial, her name is Sybil, and she writes diary entries. So she has her medical records and everything that she keeps, but then she also just has, like, a personal diary that she's keeping. And she writes about, like, everything, including the birth and what happened and how she was feeling about it. But she also writes about just, like, being a mom and a wife and regular things you would find in someone's diary, right? So you're getting her perspective just through little snippets of her diary, which is interesting. And it's not all just told as diary entries. So if you don't like that, it's just a couple of pages, maybe at most. It's a couple of pages at the beginning of each chapter. And then it does end with a diary entry. So overall, I think the book was good. It was a little slow in the beginning, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep going with it or not, but I am glad that I finally finished it. I have a nonfiction I want to read, and then another, like, romance, probably rom-com type romance story apparently about a guy who wants to become a dad, but he doesn't have a relationship of any kind with anybody, so he's trying to hire somebody to carry his baby for him, and antics ensue from there, I guess, because they're not going through, like, a medical procedure like through the hospital or anything where you would have, like, a surrogate mother or a donor egg or anything. His brothers, like, put a post on, like, Craigslist or something and is like, we need somebody to have this guy's baby, and I believe, like, no sex is supposed to be involved. They're going to do artificial insemination. It'd be her egg and her oven that they're having this baby in, but obviously they find each other attractive and whatever. I think it'll be awkward, cute, funny, weird. I don't know what I'm expecting from it, but I am excited to jump into it. I think it'll be a little bit more lighthearted. This one was quite heavy with the topics, and it focuses around the death of the mother. The baby survives, so that is a positive, and the baby does well and, like, thrives in the world. It's not, like, sickly or anything like that, so that's a positive in it, but it does deal with the death of a mother due to complications of labor and delivery and everything. Yeah, I am glad I read this. I'm excited to jump into the other books. I don't really have much more to say about this book, really. It could be very triggering if you have dealt with loss, pregnancy loss, or loss of a mother in your life, a traumatic birth experience, or whatever. Obviously, this could be very triggering. So I would look up trigger warnings. Oh, and I was talking about this being written by a man. I think he did a fine enough job with it. It didn't feel necessarily that it was written by a man or a woman. I mentioned some of the references before about like pushing something so big through something so small, and that was more just because it was being told from the perspective of like an 8-year-old child, and it wasn't childish throughout or anything. There was a lot of like actual medical terms and the proper terms that you would use for labor, delivery, all the parts involved and everything like that, and I think he did a fine job with it. I think it was respectful, and I have never delivered babies myself for other people. I've had my own children, but I've never coached anyone giving birth or anything like that, but it felt very authentic and real, and it wasn't disrespectful or anything like that. So I think it was good overall, and it came out in 1997. It's a Oprah's book club pick, so if you're interested in that, I would pick it up. And yeah, I'm gonna go see what mess my son is making in the bathroom. I can hear water splashing everywhere. And I will jump into the other books later. I think I'll start with the nonfiction and just kind of like go back and forth. But I'm also listening to Bad Cree for the book club at my local library. So I want to finish that. I wanted to finish this and then jump back into Bad Cree. I think I'm about 50% of the way through the audiobook. I'm really enjoying that one as well. So I want to finish that and then jump into some more books. We got 3 weeks, estimated 3 weeks before the baby comes. Could be longer, could be shorter. I have no signs of labor so far. Baby's moving around a lot. I had a little bit of pain yesterday, but I think it was just the way the baby was moving. And usually the closer you are to labor, when it's like imminent, it's gonna start, the baby doesn't move around as much. The baby's pretty big in there. Right now they're saying the baby is around 5 pounds. So in the next 3 weeks, it's just gonna keep gaining weight. So it becomes harder to move around because they are losing space in there, of course, but also once like the contractions start and everything, it's like baby kind of stops moving and is just in position and ready to come out. And my baby's still moving quite a bit, so I don't think the baby's coming anytime right away, but it could come anytime now. So just preparing some stuff for baby, and I'm gonna do another video packing the hospital bag and everything like that, so watch for that, and I will update when I start the next book. So I am about 3/4 of the way through the 9-month contract, and I would probably have DNF'd this book if I didn't make my husband go out and buy it for me full price. Paperbacks nowadays are like $23 or $24.99. So yeah, it's okay. I do want to finish it. I have powered through to the 3/4 mark, and it's like a 400-page book. So I do want to finish it, but it is a little vulgar, I guess, for me. There's a lot of swearing. I don't know, that's fine. It just feels like a lot. And I am pregnant with my 5th child. I know what it takes to get pregnant the old-fashioned way. I've never used a surrogate. I've never been a surrogate mother. We've never had to do anything like artificial IVF, nothing like that. We've been very blessed with being able to get pregnant easily and easy-ish pregnancies and labors and deliveries and all that stuff. Everything's pretty normal and average and standard. But in this case, in the story, we have Wyatt, who wants to become a single dad. He's 38 years old. He lost his dad 2 years ago. And his brother there's 4 brothers altogether, and the oldest brother has 2 kids. And the oldest kid, Everly, she just turned 18. She's graduating from high school. And at the end of summer, she's going to go to Ireland to do like a college university thing in Ireland. And then the second child that the brother has is like 7. So there's a bit of an age gap there. And they're all feeling the loss of Everly leaving at the end of the summer, and all the uncles are very like protective of her and they love her like their own basically, but they're the only 2 kids. And like I said, the brothers lost their dad. The mom is in the book a little bit, and Wyatt has decided that he wants to be a single father, and he doesn't want to go through like a divorce or a breakup or something and have to share custody with the child, because that's what happened with his oldest brother and Everly's mom. They split up. Now the oldest brother is remarried and they have their second kid together, but they had to share custody of Everly. So that was really hard on everybody, and seeing how difficult it was on the dad to have to share custody of his daughter and all this stuff. So Wyatt has decided to go the single dad route. And he finds this surrogate through his niece, actually. She is the one who's like, I'm going to help you find a surrogate because the agency isn't working out for them. Wyatt is too picky. He interviewed 12 women and none of them were right for him. So Everly has made it her mission to find him a surrogate before she leaves for Ireland. And then she also wants him to fall in love and like get married and have a happily ever after. Have the whole picture, the whole story kind of thing. Anyways, they decide to, all the brothers work together, except for the oldest one. He has a different job, but they're all fairly well off. Wyatt like bought this property on top of a mountain, and the three brothers all decided to live up there and build their cabins and everything up there. They're completely like self-sustaining, very super friendly green cabins and all this stuff. They're very well off. They flip houses and stuff as their job. So Wyatt has the money to go and do the surrogacy and pay for like IVF treatment kind of thing. So he's talking to the woman that they found to be the surrogate, Trista. And when she literally runs into Everly, she is ranting because the surrogacy agency that Wyatt was going through that was like, we can't find anyone for you. You've denied everybody that we've brought up. They deny her to be a surrogate because she is overweight. She's like just over 200 pounds or something. But she goes on this big like tirade about how they're not taking into consideration her height and bone structure and how BMI is like BS. And it doesn't matter and it doesn't mean she's not healthy. But also she's never had a child before. So they want to be able to like guarantee that their surrogates can successfully get pregnant and carry a child, which makes sense. I get that. It's a lot of time and money. Like, I understand that they want to make sure that their surrogates are able to carry a child, but you never know, right? Lots of people have multiple children, but also multiple losses as well. So it's hard to say, but she doesn't fit the bill for it. So she agrees to meet with Wyatt. Wyatt agrees to meet with Trista and see if this will work out or not, if they can do the surrogacy. And he talks about like, because he has the money, he's willing to do like the IVF treatment or pay for them. He's not the one who has to undergo them, right? So he's willing to pay for the artificial insemination through a clinic and everything. And she's like, well, I've been on all the blogs, the lesbian blogs. The lesbians know how to get pregnant artificially without going through like a medical channel. And basically the guy does his thing into a cup. And then you take like the syringe that you would use for children's Tylenol and you suck up the stuff, insert it, and hopefully you get pregnant. And you do it like you find out when you're ovulating and do it like that week or whatever, like every day that week kind of thing. Oh, and she's doing this because she needs money because she wants to open up an animal sanctuary. She works at a shelter, but the shelter's only really equipped to take in like dogs and cats, and they live in Colorado. She's getting kicked out of her apartment because she was caught with a potbelly pig in the apartment. She's like, there's nowhere for these animals to go, like a mini horse, a potbelly pig, a rabbit, chickens, anything that's not a cat or a dog that's getting abandoned or they're trying to like drop off at the shelter. The shelter's like, we don't have space for this. We don't have the equipment, the time, the whatever, the means to take in animals that aren't dogs and cats. And so she wants the boost of the money of being a surrogate, and she has no desire to be a mom. She had really terrible parents. She basically has abandonment issues and feels like she would be a terrible mom. So she doesn't want to be a mom. She's trying to very much distance herself. She had to go through like a psychologist as part of the application to become a surrogate to talk about like, why do you want to do this? Can you emotionally detach from the pregnancy? Because it's also her egg as well. Like, she will be biologically connected to this child. She's not just the oven. She is actually attached to this child. Mentally, she feels prepared, but it's also different being pregnant and having the hormones and everything like that. So she's doing a lot to like, no, this is not what I want. I do not want to be a mom. I just need this money to open up this sanctuary. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm going to go inside because baby's ready to go inside, apparently. And I'll talk about it more, but I do have a lot of thoughts about like her way of disassociating with it and trying not to be attached. So far it's been interesting. And the whole like how they get pregnant, how she gets the Tylenol syringe and stuff is like, I was like gagging. I know how you get pregnant. I understand it, but the whole situation, the detail of it being sticky and it's gross. I don't like it. It's nasty. We're past that part now, but it was like, I was reading it while going for blood work and I was just like, I hate this. I hate this so much. I just want this to be over. It's too much detail.
Mom.
I don't need to know all the gross sticky details. So I'm on page 290 I thought I made it to 300, but I guess I did not. Oh, I don't want to see if I just pass the epilogue. There's 411 pages, so I have 120-ish pages to go. I was hoping to finish this tonight, but it's been, or today, which I still can. It's only 2:25. I'm still on sleep mode on my watch. It's only 2:25, and Gavin is doing reading sprints. I think he's probably got about 20 minutes left of his last reading sprint. But I wanted to do other stuff. Like, I wanted to read during all the sprints, but I had my mom's group this morning, and then my daughter called, said she was sick, and then my friend has been texting me a bunch of voice clips. So I've been listening to that and everything. So I haven't gotten as much reading done today as I had anticipated at this point, but that's okay. Hopefully I can still get it done, because I have another audiobook called The Surrogate by, I think, Frida McFadden, and it's only an 8-hour audiobook. And I saw it at the bookstore, and I was like, I don't have time to read another book right now. And I checked and was able to find it on Libby for free, and it's only 8 hours. So I was like, okay, I can probably knock that out. And I mean, if I have a baby and I'm not finished these books yet, that's fine. I was hoping to read them before the baby comes, but whatever, it's not that big of a deal. I have like 16 or 15 days left until my due date, but because of some, I guess, concerns, I have low fluids, according to my last ultrasound, and I think I talked about this. It is normal, but low. And my first was induced 2 days early due to low fluids, and the baby's also measuring like 2 weeks smaller than it should be. So today is Tuesday, and the doctor wants me to have an ultrasound on Thursday, so I'm just waiting to hear back from the hospital about getting an ultrasound. So depending on how that ultrasound goes, like, maybe I'll have a baby this weekend. I don't know. Am I ready for it? No, I'm never ready to have a baby. With my first, I was like not planning on having a baby, and I got pregnant, and just for me, it wasn't an option not to have the baby. Like, if I got pregnant and I was married and everything, it's not like I was in a bad situation or anything and we couldn't have a baby, or that it was like bad timing or anything. I just wasn't planning it. And anyways, we went in to get an ultrasound because I guess I was measuring small as well. And I think it was more just my OBGYN at the time was new, and he was really nervous and cautious. And I had an ultrasound 2 days before my due date, and they're like, your fluids are low, we're going to induce you. And I'm like, okay. So I went from the ultrasound place to the hospital. They weren't in the same building or anything. And I was like, okay, I guess so. And I still wasn't ready. Like, we're registering at the hospital, and I was like, I'm not ready to be a mom yet. And it was only 2 days early. Like, it's not like the baby was coming, like, premature or anything either. But that's how I have felt with all of my children. I'm like, I am not ready for this. My middle 2 children were planned. Like, not the first one, but the second and third were planned, and then the last 2 have been surprises. You'd think I didn't know what I was doing or how this happens, but I do know. But especially with the surprises, I'm like, I'm not ready. This can't be happening. I can't do this. This is too many babies. But I'm excited. I am excited. My son is throwing sand on our dog. She likes to sleep in the sand box, I think, because it's nice and cool and soft. And so my son's over there just, like, pouring sand on her. But yeah, like, if I don't get these books done before the baby comes, like, whatever. It's fine. Oh, Peaches shaking sand everywhere. At least we're outside. I was talking about the artificial insemination and how they did it at home. And I guess you can buy kits on Amazon. I meant to look it up. I didn't. This is American, so it's different. I don't think in Canada you can be paid to be a surrogate. I think it's like a volunteer position, I guess. I'm not sure how it all works. Like, maybe you get paid, because we wouldn't be paid medical expenses because it's free to have a baby here, or at least like our healthcare covers it, right? Like, it's not out of pocket. I'm not sure if something like housing or food or clothing or other things would be compensated for you, because like you might need maternity clothes, right? Or like a special diet or something. I'm not sure if that stuff is covered, but I don't think you get paid straight up for carrying a baby for somebody else. I think it's free. So I'm not sure about like the insemination process. I think you have to pay like IVF and stuff like that. I think you do pay for. Some benefits might cover it, might not. Kind of probably similar to the States. It just depends on what your coverage is. But apparently you can buy like at-home insemination kits from Amazon. I'm like, okay, you can buy like anything from Amazon, or, you know, use a Tylenol syringe. If you're gonna be able to look at those the same again, and you use them a lot with like babies. The whole things needed to make a baby from the male's perspective, to me, is just like, I don't like it. It's gross. It smells, it's sticky, it's messy. I'm not into that stuff. I don't have that kind of kink or anything like that. And it's different to get pregnant the natural or old-fashioned way or whatever. But yeah, like, it's not quite as messy. Anyways, I was talking in the last clip about how Trista is trying to stay emotionally detached from it. And she feels like she can be, but again, like I said, like hormones and all that stuff. And she's living, he has accommodations, he has like a apartment above the barn that she can stay in, and she got kicked out of her apartment for having the pig there, Sir Reginald. I love that name for a pig or like a mini horse, but she does end up with a mini horse at one point, and his name is Handsome. Anyways, she needs the accommodations as well, because she's like, I'm going to be homeless. Where was I going with this? Oh, she's trying to stay detached, right? And not have, like, get feelings or anything like that. And you know what's kind of like, I don't feel like it is a romance. They never tell you, like, what the genre is. They should be... Oh, Peaches! You okay? The quote on the cover says, a hilariously fresh and spicy rom-com that I couldn't put down by Megan Quinn. And it's a mountain men matchmaker novel. And like I said, there's 3 of the 4 brothers are single. So there's Wyatt, and then his 2 other brothers that live on the mountain. And then their oldest brother is married and has kids and stuff. So like it is a romance, but it just feels more smutty to me than romantic. And there are some scenes and conversations that they're having where they are getting to know each other a little bit better, but I'm not feeling the chemistry of like a romance relationship. I feel the spicy chemistry of them being physically attracted to each other and wanting to be together physically, but it just feels like more just physical, and that's kind of like all they say they want, but you know, like one of them or both of them are going to catch feelings. It's just bound to happen. But she has a lot of insecurities with the way she grew up and insecurities with her body, and she talks about working really, really hard to be secure in her body as a plus size woman, accepting her body, and being grateful for your body for just functioning and allowing you to live. And she is physically capable of doing things. She's pretty strong. She's able to work with the animals, and like she was carrying a 65-pound potbelly pig like up and down stairs and stuff like that. Like, her body is strong and capable, and she's worked really hard to accept where she is, and she still has insecurities. And she talks about having like hips and a butt, and her belly is kind of a problem area for her. Like, that's one of the areas that she's not quite comfortable with yet, but she's learning to accept it and all this stuff. But you can tell she's still quite insecure. And there was one line I highlighted in here where she meets the brother's wife, and she's like, how come I can look at her as a plus size woman and think she's beautiful, but then still have problems with my own body? Why can I look at this plus sized female and see that she looks amazing, but my intrusive thoughts have to be such a dick to me? So I really liked that and appreciated that, but the way she's trying to stay emotionally detached is to see herself as a breeding cow. And I know on farms a lot, they will artificially inseminate the cows to get them pregnant and not have to deal with, like, getting the bull to meet up and things going well, right? So they just cut out the drama of it all and just artificially inseminate these cows. So her mantra is, like, always, like, I'm a cow, I'm a cow, I'm a cow. And I'm like, okay, I understand at the beginning why you're using this metaphor. And he's like, he lives on a mountain, but he's not an animal person. He doesn't have a farm or anything. He has one goat that he rescued 10 years ago that he, like, literally saved its life. It was, like, dying on the side of the road, and he nursed it back to health and everything. That's it. He doesn't like animals. He doesn't want, like, a farm or anything. He's not a farmer. But I understand why they use the analogy, and it fits with, like, the mountain man vibe and everything like that. But, like, she just keeps repeating it so many times. I'm a cow, I'm a cow, I'm a cow. And I'm like, okay, can we stop calling yourself a cow because of those insecurities with her body that she has? She is, for the most part, really positive about her body, but also still struggling. Like, it seems very real and authentic. The author, I don't know much about her. She's quite skinny in her picture. I don't know if she used to be plus size or not, or where she got this representation from, but it feels pretty authentic and honest, because it's like, yeah, I love my body, but, you know, I still have struggles, I still have self-esteem issues and stuff like that, right? But just her constantly repeating the fact that she's a cow is driving me crazy. I'm like, okay, can we just think of it in a different way. Oh, and I was talking about feelings and stuff like that. Wyatt is very, very, very protective of her. And there was some kind of drama in the past on the mountain with a woman. And he's like, normally the three brothers don't have the same attractions to women. Like, they find different women attractive. So there's never usually any, like, rivalry there. But there was one girl living on the mountain for something. And there was some kind of, like, triangle thing going on where more than one brother found her attractive, and we don't really know the full story there yet. I assume we will get it, I'm not sure, but that's why he's so protective, and he's telling his brothers, like, don't talk to her, don't look at her, don't interact with her, just leave her alone, because he doesn't want there to be drama and stuff there, and he has some insecurity there. But he's very protective of her. I was talking about, like, chemistry between them in a relationship, and he's very protective, but it's also more like, she's carrying my child as well, so that's why he's being extra protective. It's not because they're in a relationship. It's not because he's trying to date her. It's just because he doesn't want there to be drama, and he does find her attractive and he wants to be with her physically, but like relationship wise, I'm not seeing it. I'm not feeling it. So I don't know how I feel about this book yet. But that's my update for now. My friend's still texting me, and I think the reading sprint's gonna be done soon. So I'm going to wrap up this clip because my phone is yelling at me that's out of storage as well. And I will update when I finish the book, I think. Hopefully tonight. So I finished the 9-month contract yesterday, and I thought it was okay, probably like a 3-star. I was going to talk about their chemistry as a couple because, you know, like going into this, he wants to be a single dad. He doesn't want a partner, a wife, the mother involved at all. And then you know that she just wants the money to open up an animal sanctuary, and she doesn't want any part of being the mother or parenting or part of a family, nothing like that. She's not looking for a husband. She's looking for money and trying her best to distance herself emotionally from the pregnancy and the baby and everything like that. But you know, it's like a romance and things are going to change and they're going to fall for each other and blah, blah, blah. But I felt like they were physically attracted to each other, and there was a lot of lust there and a lot of hormones going around and all of that stuff, but nothing that I felt like would lead them to getting into a relationship that would last a very long time, because it wasn't based on anything besides physical attraction. And there is the added component of her carrying his child, and it is biologically her child as well. But take that out of it, and there was no like chemistry there so much. There was a lot of baggage on both of their ends about why they didn't want to be in a relationship, and for her personally, why she didn't want to be a part of a family. Her parents were like absolutely terrible and abandoned her around the age of like 13 or 14 or something, and then her older sister was watching her, and then her sister left when she was just like 16. So Trista's been on her own since she was 16 years old, and she's now 28, I think 29, something like that. So she has abandonment issues and doesn't want to be part of a family and feels like she would fail a child the way her parents failed her and all of this stuff. And then on his side of it, Wyatt's side, there was a relationship with a woman, and his him and his 2 other brothers, that got really messy and complicated, and a lot of deceit on her end and manipulation and things like that. So you understand it because you're hearing their inner dialogue and you're seeing their conversations with other people, but rarely with each other. And because of her past, Trista has these like boundaries up, and boundaries are healthy and everything like that. That's great, but you can tell that her boundaries are caused from trauma and pain, and not like healthy boundaries. They're not healthy boundaries. Like, they are healthy for her right now, but she needs to work through that past trauma kind of thing. And he doesn't respect those boundaries, like, at all. And I understand, like, if this was more of like a toxic relationship kind of thing, like, I can understand the possessiveness that he has could be hot because it's fictional, right? It's different when it's happening to you in real life versus just reading about it. But he's like really protective, and she's pregnant with his child. So he's like, you need to eat breakfast, and I'm going to bring you breakfast every day. And there's farm animals to be taken care of. And he's like, well, when I'm feeding my goat, I might as well feed your pig and mini horse and stuff like that, right? Like, I'll fill the trough, I'll clean out the pig pen, whatever. And she's like, I can do it. I'm strong. I'm independent. And he's like, yeah, but I want to protect you. I want to provide for you. I want to do all this stuff, right? So I can understand how that would be like annoying, but also could be attractive and stuff. But like, he just disrespected her boundaries at every second, and it doesn't matter that those boundaries there are more walls than boundaries. It doesn't matter that she has those boundaries up there because of past trauma, and they're not maybe the healthiest. Like, she is blocking love and affection and not allowing people to help her because she's going to be hurt and stuff like that. And that's a whole bunch of stuff in her that needs to be dealt with and worked through in order to make healthier boundaries in her life. It doesn't matter why her boundaries are there. He just like runs them over and doesn't care about them at all. And there are two conversations that happen, him with his brothers and her with her sister. That's a very quick conversation about their past traumas, basically, and about why they should just like get over it, move on, and be with each other, like take a chance. And I like when those conversations happen in books, and I like when they have people in their life that they can talk to that can be like, look, I know what you went through was hard and difficult and all this stuff, but here's why you need to work through that and move on from that. So those two conversations did happen, but I feel like they didn't happen with each other though, at all. Like there was no discussion there, whatsoever. I feel like all of it happened in the background. So the chemistry wasn't really great, and I feel like it was just lust-filled. So yeah, and usually I don't complain about like rom-coms or whatever. I'm like, whatever, it's fiction, it's supposed to be romantic, I can like overlook so much stuff, but I don't know, it wasn't the best. I did like the family dynamics of him and his family. Like, she had so much trauma and abandonment and everything from her own family, and his is so tight-knit and loving and connected. Like, even his sister-in-law, who came into the family like after the first child was born, Everly, like the first grandchild, niece was born, she came in afterwards. And Everly's stepmom, like, she married into the family after Everly was already there and everything, and there had already been somebody in the family, but they had broken up or whatever, right? The oldest brother, Max, and whoever Everly's mom was. Like, the whole family is just so loving and tight-knit, and I really love that aspect of it. And there are more in the series that go along with the other brothers' romances, including Max, who's with his wife, whose name is Cozy. I was like, okay, that's an interesting name. I won't be continuing on with them. It was very smutty. There's like descriptions of masturbation, like I said, and their process of getting inseminated, and just a lot of very descriptive sex. So I skipped over that stuff. That's just my own personal preference and taste and comfort. So they are pretty smutty, and I know a lot of the romance I read is like that, but there's more to it than that, but it just felt like a lot for me. Now I've moved on to The Surrogate Mother by Frida McFadden. I thought this was a newer book because it was on the front table at the Kohl's at the mall, but it's actually from 2018, so that's interesting. And it's a thriller, so a bit of a different vibe, not so romantic or sexual, but a thriller. And I think I've read a Frida McFadden before, and I thought it was fine. I know a lot of people like her. I know she's a really popular author, and I'm a little bit more than halfway through. It says I've listened to 4 hours and 14 minutes, and I have 3.5 hours left of it. So maybe I'll get it done today. We'll see. It's okay so far. I'm listening to it as an audiobook, and the audiobook isn't the best, but it's not so terrible I can't listen to it. But there's definitely all the paranoia feelings coming on. She has hired our main character, Abigail. Her assistant is the surrogate for Abigail and her husband, and they're also using the assistant's, her name is Monica, they're using her egg. Again, it's the husband's sperm and then the surrogate's egg and womb. So there's a lot of paranoia and stuff happening, and like, she's 23 years old and Abigail's 36, her husband is like 38. So you know, she's young, she's attractive, she's kind of worming her way into the husband's life, but trying to kind of push Abigail out, and Abigail's getting a little bit paranoid about it. Like, she's trying to talk herself out of these things, like, no, this can't be happening, or this was an honest mistake, or whatever, right? Like, changes in her calendar and things. She's like, I thought the meeting was at 2, and it's like, no, I told you it was at 1, and she's like, I'm pretty sure it was at 2, and then she checks her calendar and it's at 1 o'clock. And you're like, yeah, but the assistant, the surrogate, has access to your calendar and can change that. And she has like this big, huge presentation at work, and the guy she's presenting to is like, this is not what we talked about. And she looks, and like the pictures are different than what she had put in there, and all of this stuff, right? Yeah, so far it's okay. It's a thriller, but it's all the building up to the thrilling stuff so far. Anyways, I have an ultrasound in 8 minutes, so I gotta go. I'm anxious to get this ultrasound done because there is some slight concerns from the last ultrasound, so I'm excited to get this one done finally, and I will update after the ultrasound and after the book. So I listened to all of The Surrogate Mother by Frida McFadden in like 2 days. It's like a 8.5, 9-hour audiobook, so it was a pretty quick read. And it was okay. It's a very typical thriller, easy to listen to kind of thing. If you read a lot of thrillers and stuff, it's kind of what you would expect. And the typical kind of like stalkerish woman who wants your life, wants your husband. There was one reveal that happened that I guessed it maybe 2 chapters before it happened. So that was good. It wasn't something I guessed like right at the very beginning of the book and was just waiting for it to be revealed. I guessed it just before it was revealed. So that was good. It wasn't that predictable, I guess. So the story is about this woman. They've been trying to have a baby for like 5 years now and have had no luck and decided to go through the route of adoption. And they were throwing her like a baby shower at her work, and I can't even remember her name. I remember the basics of the book. I don't know, it wasn't super memorable. Like I said, a very typical thriller, like a 3-star kind of thing. It wasn't bad, but not anything new either, for me anyways. But they were throwing her a baby shower for this adoption that was going to go through like within the next week or so. Like it was really soon. And then her husband gets a phone call and says that the mom has decided that she wants to keep the baby, and I think she's like a teenager. That's why she was giving it up for adoption. But they just have the excuse of like her mom decided that she's gonna help her raise this baby, so she's gonna keep the baby now. So the adoption falls through like at the last minute kind of thing. Obviously that's really difficult and hard, and she's not sure what she wants to do. Do they want to try adopting again? Do they just give up? What do they do? And then the girl's secretary is like, I would have a baby for you. I would be the surrogate. I would carry your baby. But in this case, they can't have a biological child because there's something wrong with her eggs, but her husband's sperm is okay. So with the surrogate, she would have to be giving her egg as well. She'd be donating her egg. So the husband at first is like against it and he's like, no, this is weird. Like, I don't want to go through with this surrogacy thing, especially with somebody you work with. So my husband's coming out of the store now. But in the end, they decide to go through with the surrogacy with her secretary, and then decide to go through the surrogacy, but things start happening. You're flashing your phone. The wife, she wants to be there for all the doctor's appointments, for the ultrasounds, all of that stuff. Of course, she wants to be a part of the pregnancy as much as possible. She's told for the one ultrasound, one of those goes by every 2 minutes. And they're loud.
No kidding.
She's told the appointment's at 2 o'clock. So she's like, I have to leave work at 1 o'clock. I have to get on the train or take the taxi or whatever by this time to get there, and blah blah blah. And then she shows up at the doctor's office at like 1:40, and her husband and her secretary are coming out of the appointment room and are like, here's the ultrasound pictures, and they're all excited and stuff. And she's like, what do you mean I missed it? How did I miss it? It's at 2 o'clock. And they're like, no, it was at 1. And when she checks her calendar on her phone, it's like the calendar shows ultrasound appointment 1 p.m. And she's like, how did I swear I wrote it down as 2 o'clock. And like the whole time I'm just like, you know, your secretary can change that information. Like, she has access to all your calendars and everything. But stuff like that keeps happening to her. It's a very noisy parking lot.
That's what I was just gonna say. I was like, man, you're not kidding.
And that guy's coming back this way without his luck. Anyways, I'll update more later. We gotta go. Today is September 26th, right? I'm 39 weeks pregnant today. 39 and 1 day. I was 39 weeks yesterday. And baby has to come by next Thursday, October 2nd, the due date. The doctor does not want me to go over my due date at all. So between now and then, we're gonna have a baby in the next 6 days.
It will be soon.
Soon. I have no signs yet of going in. I will update more later when it's quieter. So it's another day. It's like 3 p.m. on another day. So it's actually quite late in the day, but we're trying to go for a walk. Our van battery died for some reason. I'm not sure what happened there. I would say a light got left on, but it's also really good about turning the lights off. After so long, it will just turn the lights off for you. So I don't know, but we did not end up going for a walk yesterday. We were just tired, and I am sore all the time now. So today is Saturday the 27th. So we have 5 more days for this baby to come. So we're gonna go for a walk today, and that's supposed to help with labor and getting everything ready. So we'll see. I kind of sort of half jokingly talk about like putting myself on bed rest because I'm in so much pain, and it's like the muscles that I need to have a baby that are in pain. And like walking is so painful, especially like at nighttime when I've been asleep for, you know, maybe 2 hours. I've been asleep and then I have to get up to go to the bathroom, and then, you know, you've been resting so long, so it's like your muscles are all tight and it's extra sore to get up. So like every night it's so painful for me to get up and go to the bathroom. So actually, like, bed rest isn't the best thing ever, because once I start walking and I'm moving and warmed up a little bit, it's better, right? Like, it doesn't hurt nearly as much. So really, I should be out walking as much as possible, especially since it's already getting pretty cold out. Like, I was trying to sit outside this morning and do some, like, my Bible study thing that I had and just do some reading, and it was really windy, which made it cold. Now that it's a bit later in the day, like 3 p.m., it is warmer. I'm hot right now because I'm sitting in the car and we can't turn it on, and I'm wearing a sweater because it's windy and cold out there. Anyways, we're gonna go for a walk now and get some treats and everything. It'll be good. I don't even know how to wrap up that book about the surrogate mother by Frida McFadden. I was talking about, like, it's a pretty typical, like, stalker thriller, basically. And like I said, our main character, which I can't remember her name, Abigail, maybe? I think they call her Abby, or like one person calls her Abby, but no one else does, and she goes by Abigail, which I really like that name, actually. My husband doesn't like it as much, but she's starting to, like, she's starting to feel like she's losing her mind a little bit. Her insomnia has supposedly come back, and so she's like pacing her house at nighttime every time because she can't sleep. And then during the day, she works at a marketing place, and she got this client for diapers and then baby food. And she was like trying the baby food, and she's like, this stuff is so gross. How am I supposed to sell this? Like, it's disgusting. Because she like actually had all these open jars of baby food and was trying it. And it's so true. Baby food is so gross. But she's making this big production, and she was emailing the team, and they're like, okay, here's the pictures of the babies that we want in the advertisement. And we want these babies, not these babies. We want this to be front and center kind of thing, not this other thing, you know, whatever. So she makes this presentation for them, and she has everything all set up, and she's worked really late at night for it and has all the slides and everything. So she's got this whole presentation done, and then as she's presenting it, the head of that baby food, baby diaper company, I think they do both, is like, this is okay, but this is not what we talked about. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's looking at the pictures, and it's all different pictures now. It's all different pictures from what she had. Like, it's the original pictures that she had, but then the company, the guy was like, we don't want those pictures. We want these babies instead of those babies, whatever. So she changed it all to be like that, but now it's like the original slideshow that they didn't want. And it's like none of the changes got made. And she's like, what? And then she's trying to cover up for it and is like, oh, I just did this to show you how much better it's gonna be when we do this one and whatever. She's like, just give me a second to load the photos. And then her secretary, or her assistant, who's also the surrogate, is like, oh, here, I'll help you. And she like helps load up the photos, and it takes like 20 minutes instead of like 2 minutes to like fix this problem, right? And then everyone is like, well, thank God for the assistant being there. I can't remember her name either. They're like, thank God for the assistant being there. She saved the day kind of thing, right? So all this stuff keeps happening, making her look crazy and like she doesn't know what she's doing, and then the assistant keeps coming to the rescue, right? And then there's also, like I was mentioning, with her calendar, dates keep getting changed or times keep getting changed, and she's like, no, I swear I put in 2 o'clock, and then she looks at her calendar and it's like, oh, it actually says 1 o'clock, and you're like, okay, but I swear it was 2 o'clock. How did this happen, right? And then I'm like thinking, your secretary, or not secretary, but your assistant has access to all this stuff, so obviously she's changing it. And then there's a drug test that happens at the company, and she tests positive for like meth, and she's like, I'm not doing meth, like I've never done drugs in my life. She's like, how can this be? Like I don't do drugs, I don't do any of this kind of stuff, right? And then she's feels like she's going crazy, and she's like, am I just a meth addict and I don't even know I'm a meth addict? So it's all those little kind of things that are kind of adding up and making her uncomfortable, and you're trying to solve like, how is this happening? Even though you know, you're like, it's the assistant, it's the surrogate, you know that, but you're also like, how is she doing that? And how is she getting away with that stuff? Like, how do you make somebody test positive for methamphetamine, right? Like, it's not pot or booze or something on the job, right? It's meth. How do you do that? Yeah, at the end of the day, it was just a very typical thriller, and it was fine. And I don't want to give away like spoilers or anything. If you like Frida McFadden, I'm sure you'll like this book if you like her writing and stuff. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about it. I'm also reading the Mom Secrets one with Kat and Nat. I'll share a couple little like quotes from it kind of thing. But right now, tomorrow is my dad's birthday. Today is September 27th. My dad's birthday is the 28th. So I thought it'd be kind of cool if the baby comes tomorrow. And I want this baby born on an even number because all of our kids just happen to have even number birthdays. 10, 8, 2, and 26 are their birthdays. So it'd be cool if this one came on an even number. And if I don't have a baby before my due date is October 2nd. So that is an even number. It's like every other day I'm like, okay, baby, you can come now. And then the baby doesn't come, and I'm like, you can't come this day because now it's an odd number. Yeah, I'm like, you can only come on an even number. But my babies also never come on the days I want them to come, so we'll see. I have a feeling this vlog won't be completely finished before I have a baby, so we will see what happens. But yeah, we're gonna hopefully go for a walk here soon. I will update later about the Mom Confessions book. So Mom Secrets, Coffee-Fueled Confessions from the Mom Trenches by Catherine Belknap and Natalie Telfer, or Kat and Nat, is a nonfiction book where mothers have sent in their confessions and Kat and Nat are responding to them and giving their advice, thoughts, opinions, and how they have handled these situations. So my thought is that I would just read a couple of them and a couple of the quotes that I like, and just maybe share some of my thoughts, opinions, things I have done in those situations if I find it relatable or not. So I will just read what the confession is and what they have said, and then what I'm thinking about it. So, confession. This one mom at school is always Facebook posting about these one-on-one activities she goes on with each of her kids, preaching how incredible they are and how noticed her kids feel. Am I a bad parent for not taking the time to do this kind of thing? So some of the quotes I highlighted from this were, how on earth do they have the time, money, and energy to bring each child individually to an indoor water park? It's all over my feed. Moms splitting souped up ice cream sundaes with a kid. Moms with their kids at live action Disney plays. Moms on a freaking run with their kids. I refuse to believe those photos are real. These moms will be posting a picture of their kid on Facebook with a huge caption about how much they love her, what a powerhouse she is. They're so proud of her. Girl, your kid isn't even on Facebook. She can't even read. Who is this for? Ultimately, experts say that 10 minutes of alone time here and there with your kids is really what you need to give them that same boost of parental attention. It's not about a luxe weekend with them. It's not about giving them glamorous special treatment. Honestly, if your kid grows up getting lavish dates every week, they're going to grow up to be a dickbag. Sorry, it's just true. No one gets that kind of special treatment in real life. Unless you're a hot 22-year-old on The Bachelor, which I hope to God none of my kids ever are. This is definitely an area that can cause a lot of parental guilt, and it is really hard. We have 4 kids. We have another one coming so soon. And for the first year or so, the baby takes up all of your time and energy, but they don't need it the way that your older kids do. Babies just need to be taken care of, and they need love and affection and everything, but they don't understand going on dates or whatever, that alone time. But it is really hard to find that dedicated alone time to have with each and every kid individually, and especially when you think that it has to be like this big grand date. It can be as simple as going out and grabbing a special drink together from your local coffee shop, or taking them out of school even an hour early so that you can spend a little bit of time together. It can be that 10 minutes before bed when you're doing stories and prayers and whatever, just sitting and talking and having those few extra minutes. It doesn't have to be anything grand or lavish or crazy. It's just about spending a little bit of time giving your kids that individualized attention without screens. That's the important part. Confession. Does anyone else remember when we weren't in constant communication with the entire world through our phones? I sometimes feel like I would kill to be a parent back then. Keeping up with technology and apps and social media, it's insane. I can't keep track of every new app or feature I need to monitor. There's guilt around letting your kids use technology, but also sometimes we just need a break. And it's near impossible to not give in to your kids' incessant pleas for screen time. When my kids start acting like dickbags, that's when I know it's time for screen time to be over. Our kids are being stimulated constantly, and it can have off-screen effects in their mood and mental health. This is definitely something that we struggle with quite a bit, and it is so much easier just to give in and give them the technology that gives you the break. But also, we know that too much technology and that constant stimulation is very damaging as well. So this is such a hard thing to try and balance. And it is something that I have been struggling with, especially during the summer when there's so much free time, and I've been pregnant the whole summer, so I'm not always feeling the best or wanting to go out or having the energy to chase a toddler around. So it is really hard to balance, and part of that is I have to get off the technology in order for my kids to get off the technology, and they are seeing if we're on technology a lot or not, and how it's affecting our lives as well. And if I kick my kids off the technology, they're like, well, it's unfair if you're on the computer. So there's definitely a balance that needs to be made within the household for everyone involved, parents and children alike. Confession. There's a million shows about making your space beautiful or perfectly organized. Then I go on Instagram and get all these ads for products for my home, and all these accounts are posting beautiful pictures of spotless houses. I look around my house, dirty dishes everywhere, crap everywhere, and I feel like I'm failing at being the stylish, put-together mom I always wanted to be. I just wish I could make my kids stop messing up the space, and I wish I could afford to get all the $100 throw pillows I see on Instagram. My husband walks into the bedroom, and I show him my spreadsheet of potential organizational tools. It'll be life-changing, I say to him. Just imagine everything put away in neat little containers. I'm arguing like a lawyer fighting the case of my life here. Like, I know if we just buy a few more things, our house will be perfect. If I can just be influenced by the right influencer, our house will be spotless. My husband laughs and shakes his head. He knows this fever desire for order won't last. Usually it's him who's the neat freak. See, my theory is there is always one partner who is a neat freak, because two neat freaks cannot survive children. My husband would have this house so organized, but I am a disaster. I like to say I'm responsible for the fun. It's like the harder I try to be organized, the worse it gets. He's like, Kat, just put the stuff away. I'm like, my brain doesn't work like that. He's like, stop buying crap. I'm like, it will help me. Then I try for like a week to really be organized and fail after week 1 and go back to chasing my tail. And this dance has gone on and on since we got married. He would be Joanna Gaines. He has his socks matching. It boggles my mind. So if you have seen any of my content or looked through my channel at all, you will see that I do some clean with me videos and like spring clean, fall clean, reset videos and everything. And I really resonated with what Kat was saying here and how hard it is to keep the house clean. I have a laundry system in my head, but the fact that other people live in my house and do the laundry and contribute to dirty clothes and laundry and everything like that makes the laundry system just fall apart instantly. I am thankful that my older daughter does her laundry and she's learning, and we have to keep going over like, okay, separate these things from these things and hang dry this stuff and whatever. But she is doing her own laundry and learning, and that is awesome. But trying to get 6 different or 5 different people in the house to all follow the same laundry routine is very exhausting some days, and it falls apart so fast. And it is so hard for me to keep my house clean. And I wouldn't say I'm a hoarder, but I am a collector, and I'm always buying things to like add for decor and things like that, but I'm really bad at getting rid of things. So I'm constantly trying to clear things out of the house as well as being more mindful of what I'm buying. But it is so difficult, and the clutter and mess and everything like that in the house is very mentally overwhelming and stressful for me. So I totally feel this confession and what they talked about in this chapter. So that is what I wanted to share from Kat and Nat's Mom Secrets, Coffee Fueled Confessions from the Mom Trenches. Comment down below your thoughts and feelings about these confessions and any parenting confessions you may have or advice that you would have for these confessions that I shared. Happy Tuesday, September 30th. Today in Canada, it is Truth and Reconciliation Day, so the kids are off school. It's a holiday. It's all about truth and reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples of Canada. September 30th, I am 2 days away from my due date now. So I am, 38 weeks, 5 days pregnant? And baby is not moving as much as I would like. It's making me a little bit nervous. I went for NST. Again, that's where they put those yellow straps on you and they feel for contractions. There's two monitor things. One listens to the baby's heartbeat, and I showed a small clip of it in the beginning of the vlog. And then the other one feels if you are contracting or not. So even if you're not necessarily feeling it, this thing should be picking up if your body is having contractions. And yesterday the baby was kind of being stubborn and hidden away in there, and they found a heartbeat. They picked up a heartbeat. I wasn't worried about them not finding a heartbeat, but we lost it 3 times. Normally you lie on your back and they just strap it on and you sit there for 25 minutes and it's all good, usually. Or it has been for me anyways. It was all good and they're like, "Okay, you're free to go." But this time they're like, "Oh, can you roll over? Can you do this?" We got the baby sleeping. Normally the baby is doing its little Shamu impression in there. Yesterday I got only a few movements and they had to keep moving the heartbeat monitor thing around, and so it was still good. I was still able to go. They're like, "Yeah, it's fine." The machine was picking up that there was a heartbeat, but we couldn't physically hear the heartbeat kind of thing. But the baby's still not moving a lot right now. So you need 6 movements in 2 hours of time. So I'm just trying to relax and pay attention to if the baby's moving. Because sometimes, the baby's asleep, it's just quiet in there or whatever. And then the baby will move. All of a sudden you're like, "Oh, when was the last time I felt you move?" But it's just been a lot quieter than normal the last 2 days. So I think that means the baby's preparing to come out. But also, if the baby's not moving, then they have to get it out of there right now kind of thing. I'm already scheduled to go in on my due date Thursday morning, October 2nd. So let's just hope things move along. I want the baby born on an even number day, like today's the 30th or the due date is the 2nd, so not tomorrow, which is the 1st. Doesn't matter. No, not in the grand scheme of things. Obviously this baby's gonna come when it comes. That's fine. But all my babies happen to be born on even numbers, so that would be cool if this baby was also born on an even number. But being baby number 5, maybe it wants to be different and stand out and be born on October 1st instead. So we will see. Anyways, I'm just here to wrap up a few little things about my reading vlog, mommy vlog, reading books about pregnancy. So I read Midwives, where the story was that it takes place in the 80s, and a midwife, her name was Sybil, and she performed an emergency C-section in someone's home in their bed, believing that the mom had died of an aneurysm, I think. She believes the mom had died of an aneurysm and they only had 5 minutes to get the baby out in order to save the baby's life. So in the room with her is the woman's husband and her apprentice, the midwife's apprentice. And she believes she has tried everything she can to bring back the mother, done the CPR, all of that stuff. The phone lines are down at that hour and she can't get them to a hospital. So she's like, "I'm going to perform this C-section. I've done everything I can. My priority now is the baby." Her priority is always if you can save the mother, especially since the mother already had a child, a living child that was 7. So, your first priority is your patient, your mother, then the baby. So there is some doubt as to whether or not the mother had actually died prior to the C-section being performed. And some people believe that Sybil actually ended up killing the mother by performing this C-section. And we are following through the eyes of Sybil's daughter. I can't remember her name right now. And how she was 15 when this happened, and what she knows based on her own observations, hearing conversations between her mom, her dad, and the lawyer, what she's told. We also have excerpts from the mother, Sybil's diaries. She kept a diary, like I mentioned. She had her medical records, but she also had a personal diary that she wrote in. And she kept meticulous notes, always wrote after a birth, pretty much every night she would write, and then especially after delivering a baby. So we are following from the daughter's perspective and trying to piece together, was the mother actually dead at the time of the C-section, or was it the C-section itself that killed her? So it's a very sad book. It's a very tense book. It could be quite triggering, of course. And right to the very end, there's that question of, was it Sybil performing the C-section that ended the life of the mother or not? I think I would give that book about a 3.5, because at the beginning I was kind of bored and it felt more like a YA book following the daughter starting at the age of around 8. Like I said, it goes between her being around 8 to 15, and she has a crush on this boy, and she's trying to find ways to be with this boy, and just seeing him with his friends, but also maybe I can catch him on his own and we can just talk and flirt and whatever. It felt very much like a young YA book, and that's not what I was reading Midwives for. But as they get more to the story of the mom being in the trial, and we're learning about the trial and we're getting all the information and stuff like that, it was better. More my kind of story that way. So I'd give it about a 3.5. This story was written in 1997 and takes place in the 80s. So I thought it was well done for its time as well. And then I read the 9-month contract, which I talked a lot about. And again, it was maybe a 3-star. It was very crude. Lots of swearing in it, the F-bomb constantly, but also they use the C word in there to describe some of the sexual acts they're doing. And I'm not going to talk about it too much because I know I already ranted about it, but it just felt more like they were attracted to each other physically, but where was the basis for the actual relationship to bloom and blossom and grow and become why would they ever become husband and wife and have a family together? It was just purely sexual tension and things like that. There was the physical chemistry there, but that was it. I didn't believe the emotional relationship connection there. So that story was okay. I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping it'd be a lot more cute and fun and more of the rom-com and not just sex and this guy being super strong, protective lumberjack man, she's carrying my baby and no one can touch her kind of thing. And I think I talked about that where I can understand how, especially in a book, in a fictional world, that is attractive, and he's being the strong man who's going to protect her and whatever. But that was it. I don't know, he was just too possessive and didn't respect her boundaries or anything. And then I read The Surrogate Mother by Freida McFadden, which I felt was just a very average, typical thriller story. If you read stalker thriller, one woman being obsessed with another woman and her life, her family, her husband, her children, whatever, that kind of story, that's very much what it was. And it was okay. There was one twist, like I said, that I saw coming, but just before it's revealed, so that wasn't too bad. But other than that, it was pretty typical and average. Again, maybe a 3-star. This reading vlog wasn't full of 5 stars at all. And then I've been reading The Mom Confessions by Kat and Nat, and they are a Canadian duo, these two women who are very funny and real and honest with you about motherhood. And I read one from them a few years ago, and it was more raising little kids and birth and up kind of thing with elementary school kids. This one is more tweens, preteens, teenager, going into middle school, high school kind of age. So it's kind of good because I'm kind of in that stage as well. And that's a nonfiction one that I've been reading. So that one's been really good. I enjoy that one. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up this vlog here. My storage is yelling at me that it is full. Thank you so much for being on this pregnancy journey with me, and let me know if you have read any books this year about motherhood, parenthood, pregnancy, birth, delivery, any of that stuff that pertains to this kind of thing. Comment down below if you read any of these books or any other books about parenting, whether fiction or nonfiction, that you would suggest. Let me know. And hopefully I will see you with another vlog very soon and being able to introduce the baby and everything like that. And I will keep everyone updated on the progress of how labor and delivery and everything goes. And I will see you in a video very soon. Bye!